Hey there and welcome to another PSD Tuts spoon-fed Photoshop tutorial. I'm Gavin Steele and I'm going to be taking you through Wojciech's how to create super malleable effects with colourful lines. Okay, let's just check out the final image here. So we're creating this image of a girl with balloons rising up around her and these cool little swirls kind of adding to the scene as if, some kind of abstract shapes. Imagination maybe just getting away from her, and we're going to create all of these cool little lines in Photoshop. And as usual, all of the balloons and stuff that you need to use are all linked to over on the site, so just follow those and you should be able to find. There's an alternative teddy to the one that's in the actual tutorial. You can find a lot of the stuff on the free site, so do check them out, and do check out the video section over at psd.tutsplus.com and leave a comment, and hopefully we can get back to you. So this is the final result. If I could just select that, there we go, that we're going to be aiming for today. So I'm just going to load up Photoshop and we're going to have a quick look. Brilliant. So I've got a couple of files and folders already open over here. Don't worry about those too much, we're going to come on to those in a second. All you need to do so far is cut out the girl from her background. Now it's a really tedious process. I'm not going to go through it in this tutorial, but there's loads of tutorials on the site about using the pen tool. Just go around the image that you want to cut out. Once you've gone around it, right click and make a selection, and then set the feather radius to 0, click on OK, and you'll get a selection around the path that you've made with the pen tool, and then you can copy that, cut it, paste it, and stick it anywhere else. So we've already done that and stuck that onto this document right here. And again, when you're using the pen tool, for the majority of the time, make sure you've got it set on the middle setting up here at the top, which is, if I can remember the name, is just the paths. Just the paths mode. I thought there was going to be a fancy name for it there, but it is just the paths mode. And again, the first one is the shape layer. We're going to come on to use that a little bit later, but make sure you've got it set to the paths mode when you're just trying to select things and going around them. Okay, so once you've extracted the girl, another key thing to remember is don't extract, if I just zoom in, the shadows. Just cut those straight out. We're going to create our own shadows so that it just ties in a little bit better with our final image. Okay. So once you've cut her out, you want to be using a document about 1200 pixels by 950 pixels with 300 pixels per inch. And then I'm just going to create a new layer down here, and I'm going to call that my background layer. And then we're going to change our foreground colors and our background colors. So over here on the left hand side, just click on the first box, and we're going to set that to FOCE46, click on enter, and then we're going to select the little box behind that for our background color, and we're going to set that to F78414. Okay, nice orange color. Let me just double check those colors. F78414, brilliant, and click on OK. And then we're going to head over to our gradient tool, which is this one right here. We're going to select the radial gradient, and then we're going to select our foreground and background like so. And then from the top left, we're just going to drag down right across the image like that. Then you can paste your girl in. I've already put my girl into the scene. Make sure you stick her on a layer and call her girl. And then we're going to go to image adjustments and selective color. So head up to image, adjustments, and then down to selective color. Let's move that up. Okay, and then inside of selective color, we're going to play around with it to make the girl kind of fit into the scene. Okay, so make sure you've got preview checked, and then in the reds we're going to set it to 27 minus 5, 100, and then 39. And then we're going to change that from reds to yellows, and we're going to set that to minus 35, 75, 90, and 2. Okay, and that should tie the girl in a little bit more in with the scene. Okay, Now I've already done that with my girl, so I'm just going to cancel that. And you should get something that looks something like this. And then go into the hair areas. If I just zoom in, hit Z on the keyboard, into the hair with the burn tool. Okay, lower the brush size and just darken some of these areas on the hair and around the elbow and knuckles, around the neck. Just any areas that are just a little bit flat, you can use just to darken them up a bit, give a little bit of depth to. And I'm just going to zoom out. Like so. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing we need to do is create a new layer above our background layer. So hit the new layer. Okay, and we're going to call this one the ground. And we're just going to play around with the lighting so that it looks like she's actually sitting on a bit of ground here. So we're going to change our foreground color. We're going to set that up so it's FFE 07C. And click on OK. And we're going to grab the gradient tool, and this time we're just going to have it going from color to clear, and click on OK. And then on our ground layer we're going from the color to transparent. Make sure you've got radial set again up at the top, and then we're just going to draw out, you can hold down shift if you want a straight line, draw out a little circle like that. And then we're going to hit transform, so Command T or Control T on your keyboard, right click inside, and we're going to distort our image. So I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit using my navigator, which is off the screen. And you just want to bring these sides just down like so. And then hit enter. And then let's zoom back in. And hopefully you can see, I'm not sure how well it'll show up on the screencast, but hopefully you can see we've got this nice little orange glow, and it's going to start to look like she's sitting in place. So we can just start to nudge that up. If I go too far, you can see that it kind of surrounds us. So we just want it just down like so. So it looks like she's sat in that area. And then we're going to start to add some shadows in a second. So all we did there was use the distort tool and transform. Move on now to a new layer below the girl. So we can just click on new layer. And we're going to call this shadow. We're going to grab a new color. Let's set this color to 8F4121. 8F4121. Click on OK. Head over to the brush tool. And then we're going to set a brush hardness set to 0. Let's increase the size of it a bit. Flow set to about 10. And a small diameter. And let's zoom in. Ooh. Okay, so you can use the original image to get an idea of the shadow. I've got a really cheap bamboo Wacom, and I'm just going to slowly just add it in. Ooh, really too big, that brush. So nice small brush. We're just coming in along the arm here. Like so. And then I'm going to grab the eraser tool, reduce the opacity right down. No, not happy with that at all. Let's go back. So I'm just pressing Control, Alt, and then Z on my keyboard. Okay. I'm going to go back to my brush tool. And let's just make sure I'm on soft brush. And then reduce that right down to about 6 pixels. strong again. There we go, it's a little bit better. You can just see it starting to build up. Grab the eraser tool. Let's just bring that down. Okay, it looks much better than before. There we go. So just adding a touch of shadow. I don't want to spend too long on that, but again, the more time you spend on the shadow, the better. Okay, next thing we need to do is selecting our girl layer, this layer right here. We're going to go to Image, Adjust, and then we're going to come down to Levels. Okay, we want to set our levels to 15, 1, and let's go to 250. Click on OK. We're then going to go back up to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and we're going to set that to 0, -24, and 0. And then click on OK. And then we're going to head back over to our layers panel, and we're going to duplicate this layer, so you can drag it down to the new layer excuse me, to the new layer down here, or you can just hit Command J on the keyboard, and now you've got a duplicate of that layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that to soft light down the bottom, and then we're going to go to Image Adjustment and going to set this to Gradient Map. And the gradient map we're going to use is going to go from, let's just change this color up here, it's going to go from 1B, 1.3, OC to 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6. And click on OK, and OK. Okay, so once you've done that, that's just going to bring out some of those shadows and a little bit more depth to the image. That looks pretty good. Then we're going to work on our background layer and then start to play around with these lines. So the next thing we need to do is create a new layer above our background. So we'll create that layer. And we're going to add some, let me just zoom out here. We're going to add some little white highlights to the background area back here. So let's just rename this girl copy layer. Let's call that color depth. Okay. So we're going to create a new layer, and it's going to be above our background layer. And we're going to call this back colors or back color. And again, head over to the color tool over here, and we're going to change this to EF D8 A5. Click on OK. And then on our brush tool, we're going to set the hardness to 0, and we're going to set our flow somewhere in the region of 20 to 40, so let's say 33, 34, something like that. And then you're going to make a couple of dots, or you can make one big dot behind her, or a couple of dots So increase the size of the brush, square brackets on your keyboard. Oop, because my tablet is crazy. There we go. I don't want that hard bit in the middle. There we go. Okay, so a couple of highlights there. Mine aren't perfect because I've got my tablet, unfortunately, not my mouse. So I'm getting a few little hard dots, hard colours in the middle. But generally speaking, that looks pretty good. A couple of highlight areas. Okay, we're going to start creating some of these paths now. Some of these crazy little paths are going to wrap around our girl. So again, Z on the keyboard. I'm just going to zoom in. Just one more. Yeah, about that looks pretty good. Hit P on the keyboard, and then we're going to think about how we want these little tentacles or things to come around the girl. So if we look at the original tutorial, okay, we've got this blue one which we're going to start with that just goes right around and then back around and up to the top. So we're going to start at the knee, come under the arm and around the head, and then back around. So it's going to start, let's just come down a little bit. It's going to start about here. It's going to come around here. Around the head. And then let's say like maybe finish up here. Let's have a look. Again, just zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's going to come along under the arm, around the head, and then back up the top. And that looks pretty similar to the one on the original tutorial, so it's always good to refer back to the original image. And that looks pretty good. So with that new path, the next thing that we need to do is create a group for these. Now you see I've got these groups up at the top, but don't worry about them for the second. We're going to come back to those. I'm going to create a few of these lines, and then instead of going through the whole process, because it's fairly similar for each line, I'll just unlock these and show you some of the settings that I've done. So let's create this new group, and let's call it, for now I'm going to call it new blue line. And inside there, create a new layer, and I'm going to call that layer, let's call it new blue underscore line. Okay, and this is what we're going to be stroking our tentacle onto this layer. So inside on this new layer, make sure you set the brush tool to be 100% in our hardness. So again, we just slide that all the way back up, and let's increase our flow all the way back up. And then we're going to hit the diameter at about 7 pixels, anywhere between 7 and 10 pixels. Okay. And then we're going to head over to the brush settings. I'm just going to bring that over. Okay, and in the tutorial it says that on shape dynamics, roundness jitter, we want to set to 25%. But I can't actually set that, and it mentions in the tutorial that you can reset it, but I haven't been successful in doing that. So I'm just going to set that to pen pressure for now, and that will allow me to set it to about 25%. So I'm going to stick with that and see how we get on. Okay, so we're again going to head over to our pen tool, P on the keyboard, and we're going to right click on this layer and we're going to stroke it. So right click, stroke the path, make sure you've got simulate pressure on, and make sure you select your brush tool and click on OK. So that's stroked that for us. Let's hit enter and we can see how it's done. Okay, it's not too bad. We're going to command click on our girl, and we're going to start to delete the bits that we want to hide with her body. So just going to zoom into this area here. I'm going to grab my eraser tool, bring it right down, and I want it to go under her arm, so we're going to get rid of it on this layer. So okay, let's increase the opacity right up to 100%, and we're just going to get rid of it like so. Don't worry too much about the colour for now, because we're going to apply colour overlay in a second. So that looks pretty good. Coming down here, around the face, yeah, and then back up. If you happen to have this line behind the head, you might want to just delete it. You don't want it to go across her forehead, you want it to go behind her head maybe, but that looks pretty good for now. Okay, so erase those parts of the lines that you don't want, and then let's hook up the layer style. So head over to layer style, and we're going to be doing a lot of very similar layer styles here. We're going to be doing inner glow, and you're going to make sure that's always set to normal. We're going to set the opacity to 87, 0 for the noise, and we're going to start with the blue line, so the color should be 084570. Make sure it's on softer, edge 0, 6 for the size, the contour's fine, and 50 is fine. Then we're going to add a bevel and emboss, and make sure that's on inner bevel smooth. We're going to increase that to 140 with the depth. Make sure its direction is set to up, and then we're going to set it to 5 and then 9 for soften. We're going to uncheck our use global lights and reset our angle to -5 and 26. Okay, next thing we're going to change is this gloss contour. So if you just click inside there, and you're going to try and get something similar to what I'm going to show you here. So let's make sure we get that all in shot. So I'm going to bring this right end down to about here. The left bit I'm just going to drag up to about there, and then I'm going to pull it down like so. So you get this kind of really small little soft curve going on, and then click on OK. So it looks like that. Make sure you tick the box, and we're going to change our highlight mode to normal, change the color to 92 C5 FF. Click on OK, and then set it to 100%. And then on the multiply layer, we're going to set it to OC 3459. Click on OK, and let's increase that to 100%. We're going to check the contour layer, and then inside the contour layer, you're going to make sure you tick the anti-alias there, and the range we're going to set to 38. We're going to come down to satin, and then inside satin we're going to set it to be normal. Going to change this to a blue, D5 F9 FF, 100 for our opacity, 31 for our angle, 7 for distance, and 19 for size. And then we're just going to set this to the normal contour and make sure invert is selected. Okay, finally we're going to add a color overlay. Again, have this set to normal, and the color we're going to go with is another blue, 08 1F 5A. And click on and click on OK. Let's move to the side and see how we get on. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to click on OK, Z on the keyboard, and then Alt to zoom out. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. Kind of whisks off at the end, and it's light on the bend, which is really nice. And it just creates, you know, a 3D kind of tentacle. And you know, a lot of tutorials and a lot of images have started to use these. Seems to be a bit of a trend at the minute, but they do look pretty good, and they're fairly easy to create as well, which is always cool. Okay, so that's how we create our blue tentacle, and we're going to just quickly add a few little extra things to this. We're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call this layer B frills, or B line frills, doesn't really matter. click enter. We're going to change our brush now so that our brush tool is set so that our hardness is set to 0 and our diameter should be between 1 and 2, so let's just set that to 2. And on that new layer we're going to create a couple of paths around the bottom and the top of this area. So again, I'm just going to zoom in, going to grab the pen tool. So talking about like just around here, hit command, click, maybe just coming up here. These are going to be like motion lines, command click, down here, yeah, let's create another one. Okay, so create a couple of strokes around the place. It doesn't really matter, you know, what colour you stroke them in. Just don't do white or black in case you want to do a mask or anything later on. They're just going to disappear. So I'm going to stroke those paths. Click on OK. Hit enter. You can barely see them, but it's okay because we're going to apply the layer styles that we've just done. So copy the previous layer styles. So you need to right click on our B line, and down in the menu it says copy layer style. Unfortunately you can't see them on the screencast, so if I right click on my other layer now, this layer here, and we can go to paste layer style, you can see it's pasted exactly the same layer style. Now you might want to change a couple of things, you know, it depends on what image you're using and you know what kind of effect you want, but you can change the inner glow, just change the color slightly lighter. Let's make that C1 DBFF, click on OK, and they're just a little bit lighter, like a little bit like highlights, just to add that illusion of motion. You can just see there around the bends and up the top. It looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create green lines in exactly the same way, using the pen tool to draw out the path, stroke them, and then apply a layer style to them. So I'm just going to do that now, and then I'll come back and take you through exactly what I changed in my layer styles. Okay, and as you can see, I've added the green path there, the green little tentacle, and if we just zoom in to 100%, you can see it's fairly similar to the blue layer. It just happens to be green. I've got little frills here, little ticks, little motion lines coming off to the sides. So if I load up that folder there and we have a look, it's only got those two layers in, the G line fills and the new G lines. And if I double click on that layer, I can take you through some of the layer styles exactly the same as with the blue one. We've got inner glow, bevel, contour, satin and color overlay. On inner glow, we've got it set to normal with an opacity of 86. The green color that we've used is 3E7B07. We've got it on softer, edge, and the choke is set to 0 with a size of 5, and the quality is all set as default. Bevel and emboss, again it's inner bevel, smooth, 140%. We've got it in direction of up, 9 for size, 7 pixels for soften, and an angle of 6. We're not using global light, and the altitude set to 37, and again we've got it set to this small little hill mapping here, which is a custom one we showed earlier. And the colours we've got set are DOFF87, and that's on normal and 100%, and on multiply for the shadow mode it's set to 2A5FOO, and again 100%. Contour is set to 38%, satin normal, and the light green colour is D2FFOO. 100%, 31 for the angle, 7 pixels for distance, and a size of 25. And finally the colour overlay is on normal, deep green, 2E, 5E, OB, and it's 100% opacity. And that's going to give you this thick green tentacle here. And then for the G lines, it's almost exactly the same, but because they're thinner, because we've only used 1 pixel or a 2 pixel line, 2 pixel stroke, it's just slightly lighter. So everything else is pretty much exactly the same. In fact, I don't think there are any changes with this. Nope, that all looks pretty much the same. And you can see over here I've just done a couple of extra little ticks, little swishes and stuff, just try and make it come to life a little bit more movement. I've also done at the bottom down here, I've just deleted using the eraser tool, because this original stroke just went straight across this blue line. I've just grabbed the eraser tool and I've just erased in between and along here like so, and that just gives the impression that it's going behind rather than over that particular part. And then over here I've let it go over the top. We could add a little shadow, but I don't think we need it for this tutorial. I think it all looks pretty good. Again, a couple little thinner frills or fills coming over, and that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to zoom back out, and I'm going to do exactly the same now for our pink layer. Just going to show you a couple of tricks with the pink layer before I get stuck into it. We're going to have it wrapping around the leg area down here. So create a new group, and we're going to call that pink. And inside pink, going to add a new layer, and we're going to call that P ring. Now, if you're looking at my layers bar here, only take note of the layers that have the eyedropper in. Okay, there's some of the ones where I tried things didn't quite work out, and I'm going to unlock those as we go through. So on this new pink layer, we're going to head over to our custom tools, and we're going to select the ellipse tool, and we're just going to drag the ellipse like so it goes around the ankle, and then we're going to set our brush up. So just like we did before, make sure you've got your brush set so it's on about a 7, 100%, hardness is 100%, all nice, really hard. Hit P on the keyboard, right click, and we can stroke that path. Click on OK, make sure you've got simulate pressure, and then hit enter, and let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks pretty good, but I want the thicker part to be over the top, so I'm just going to transform that, and we're just going to rotate it round. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then with the eraser tool, I'm just going to get rid of this area here. Okay, and then we're going to apply a new layer style to that, and again, just like with the other ones, we're going to have an inner glow. We'll make sure you set it to normal, and we're going to have that set, let's just change the color to 9F2868. Click on OK, and the opacity let's set to 86. Okay, we want it to be softer, we want it to be the edge. 0 for choke, let's reduce this down to 3 for size, and 50, that's fine for the quality. Bevel and emboss again, so we're just going to select that, and we're going to have that inner boss smooth 140. Make sure it's going up, then we're going to have it set to 6, an angle of 120. We're going to use the global light, leave that on 30. We're going to come back to our little shallow mountain, something like that. Click on OK, and we're going to make sure this is set again to normal. Change the color to FFA 2D 2. And the second color is B1 3383. Okay, let's head over to contour. That looks pretty good. Let's just reduce that down to 32. And then satin, we're going to change the color to FF9, DD, B. Have it set to 100, 56 for our angle, 7, and then 4. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's just set that to normal contour. And let's have a look at it. Yep, that looks pretty good. We change the blend mode to normal. And let's click on OK. Now if we just Command T, just move it. Actually, no, that's fine. Let's Command J, duplicate it. And I'm just going to move it just a bit down the leg. Then I'm going to transform that. And let's just bring that down just a little bit. Hit enter, grab the eraser tool. Okay, looks pretty good. Command J that. V on the keyboard. Just going to move that further down. Command T again. Shift and Alt. Just reduce that down a little bit more. Okay, it looks pretty good. Might just rotate that a nudge so. Yep, that looks pretty good. Hit Z, let's zoom out. Okay, it looks pretty good. I've seen said pretty good quite a lot. Sorry, okay, I'll try and not say that anymore. So we've created our pink loops going around the leg, and the next thing to do is to add a little flurry of, I don't know what you want to call these tentacles going up the leg. So I'm just going to do that now, and then I'll pop back and show you how I've got on. And so as you can see, I'm back now, and I've just zoomed into what I've created. In exactly the same way, just use the pen tool, and I've stroked coming out of the leg, just coming around and up the top. Again, just making sure your brush is set to 100% hardness, pixels, about 7 pixels to 10 pixels, depending on how thick you want it to be. And then applying the following layer styles. So inner glow, set to normal, 90% opacity, and a really bright pink color. 9F2868, just like before. Softer, choke set to 0, size set to 3. Bevel and emboss, we've got it set on inner bevel, smooth, with a depth of 130. Direction is going up, size is 103. Soften, set to 12. Shading, we've got minus 180 degrees. We're not using global light. 61 for our altitude, and this time for our gloss contour, we're using one of the presets, which is a ring double. Just click on OK, it should be just there. Got it highlight set to normal, pink FFA2D2, and multiply for our shadow mode, A43E73, click on OK. Contour set to 32, and satin is that same light pink as before, FF9DDB. Angle set to 74, distance set to 8, and size set to 5. And we just click on OK, and that's what we get. And then underneath our pink line, I've done my line fill, and again, set the hardness this time to 0 pixels, 1 or 2 pixels at the most. And when you stroke it, just make sure you've got nice little bits coming off the end. I've probably done a bit too much at the top up here, but maybe just where you think it might just break away from the bend, or just give the impression of a little bit of motion and movement or growth. But yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So let's have a look at it in the grand scheme of things at 50%. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new group. So there's my pink line. Create a new group. We're going to call this Blue Drops. And click on OK. And then inside there, we're going to create a new layer called B Drops. So we're going to bring over our brush settings one more time. Select the brush. This time we don't need any smoothing. Let's set shape dynamics, and we're going to set this to fade, and 95 we want that set to, and that's pretty good. Let's have a look at brush tip. Okay, we want to reduce that down to size 15 and set this spacing to 1%. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's double check shape dynamics. It's on fade 0, 95%. That's pretty good. We're going to turn this off that we set earlier, and you can see we get this kind of circular end and pointy over here, kind of like a tadpole or a tear or something like that. Okay, so we've set that up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the ellipse tool again, and let's just grab the ellipse tool here, find a bit of space like so. Okay, so draw your circle out, right click, go back into the pen tool, P on the keyboard, right click, stroke the path, click on OK, and hit enter. You can see it stroked that circle using the settings from our brush settings that we set just a second ago. And again, don't worry about the color because we're going to go in and change that right now. On our drops, we're going to go to Inner Glow, set it to normal, 92, 0. We're going to do some blue ones, so set the color here to 284FBC. Make sure it's on softer, edge 0, and then 9 for the size. We're going to bevel and emboss, and we're going to have that set to inner bevel, smooth, 140. Make sure it's going up. Reduce that down to 4. Soften, set to 7. The angle, we're not going to use global light, and we're going to increase that to 148. 25 for the altitude. We're going to use, and maybe we should have saved it as a preset earlier on. If you hold down Alt on the keyboard, cancel change to reset, and you can just click that if you make a mistake like I did. Bring that down, bring that up, bring that down. Click on OK. And we're going to set these. Let's make sure you check that. Set this to normal. Set our color 92 C5 FF, and increase that to 100%. And then let's set this one to 147066. 147066. Oh, click like that. It's not quite right. And then let's set satin, change the color, make sure that's normal as well, change the color on your satin layer to BO B0E 7FF. My apologies if I've been saying O. It's normally 0, so it should be B0E7FF. Click on OK. We're going to increase that to 100% for our opacity. We're going to have angle set to 90, 11's fine, 32 for size. We're going to set this back to a nice straight angle, and invert is good, and click on OK, much better. Let's have a look if we just zoom in. That's a little bit too much. Oh, there we are at 100%. We've got this nice little tear now. And we're going to play around with that. We're going to, let's just move this into place. We're going to duplicate it, transform it, and so on, and make it look like it's falling down from these bits over here. So, a number of ways you can do this. Command J on the keyboard to duplicate it. Hide the original layer, so you've always got one to come back to. Hit V on the keyboard, and Command J again. again, and you can turn one of these into smart object, duplicate the smart object and move that one. Let's transform that, so right click on it, we're going to flip it horizontally, I'm going to bring it round, resize it, have this one down here. Okay, and just for now I'm going to turn on auto select layers, just so I select the right one. Going to have this one coming up from the top. Looks pretty good, kind of follows on from that line. And again, just going to rotate that and then size it right down. And we're going to make these look like they're just falling down. Like so. And it's up to you, you know, as many as you can add, as many as you want to add to it, but I think it looks pretty good. So duplicate that, reset it, and we're going to do exactly the same for our green and pink layers. I'm going to pop back once I've done them. And as you can see, there are all the little extras that I've added. Let's just zoom in. There we go. And just like with the blue one, created these little ellipses and then just stroke them. The only thing that's changed is the color really, so I'm just going to quickly take you through that. So if I take one of the green ones, you can see we've set an inner glow, normal, opacity set to 86, noise set to 0. The green that we used is 3E7B07. It's set to softer, with source being the edge, choke set to 0, size set to 10, and quality is all left alone. Bevel and emboss, we always set that to an inner bevel, smooth, depth of 140 going up. Size set to 4 pixels, soften set to 7 pixels, 148 for the angle, 25 for the altitude, no global light is being used. Our gloss contour is that little hill thing we designed earlier, anti-aliased, I can't even say that, anti-aliased. Highlight mode set to normal, the light green color is 9CFF92 and the darker green color is set to 2A5FOO. Click on that. Contour is set to 20 and satin is set to that lime green of D2FF00. Keep saying 00, it's 00. Opacity set to 100, 90 degrees for the angle, distance of 11 and size set to 32. And then finally, pink. Well, let's choose one of these pink ones. Was set to another inner glow. The only thing that really changes the colours, 9F2868, and everything else stays the same. Again, light pink is FF92F9, and the shadow mode pink is A43E73, and the satin is set to pale pink of FF9DDB. And we can click on OK. So I've just placed them around my canvas like so. So I don't know, give the effect that maybe they're falling or something like that, maybe little leaves, but it looks pretty good. So just going to zoom out, and that looks pretty good. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring in some balloons. So if you head over to the link and click on the balloon, you should get something that looks like this. The balloon's on a white background, so all I did was I went to select on this layer here. I went to select color range, select the white, click on OK. The lasso tool, hold down the Alt key, circle this little circle here because we don't want to include that. Command Shift I, I've inverted it, and then select, modify, and then I've contracted it by 1 pixel. click on OK. Going to create a new layer, and if you click on the mask on this layer, Command J, it automatically puts, let's turn that off, it automatically puts whatever you've got in your selection onto that new layer. And I can turn that off, and I've got a perfect selection of that balloon, and that's exactly what I did earlier. And then just drag that balloon onto your canvas, like so, and I'm just going to bring that up to the top and transform it. Oh, I'm not sure why that's not showing. Oh, let's turn it on. Let's transform it again. Hold down Shift and Alt, and you can just scale it down to the size you want, and then move it into place. And I think we're going to turn this one blue first, so if just minimize that out of the way. Okay, so it's on its new layer. Let's call it, or green balloon first. Green balloon. And we're going to go to Color, Image, Adjustments, and we're going to go to Hue and Saturation. And we're going to set the hue to 76 and saturation to 56. Leave lightness at 0. Click OK, and then we're going to go back to Image Adjustments, and then we're going to come down to Brightness and Contrast. Set the brightness to -42 and 21 for the contrast. Click on OK, and then Image Adjustments again, and we're going to go to Selective Color, Yellow, and we're going to set that to -7, -5, 68, 76. Okay, make sure it's set to relative, and then change it from yellows to greens. And we're going to set the greens to -23, 18, 100, 100. And again, relative, and click on OK. You should get this nice dark green. It kind of matches the green that we've been using for our tentacles. Command L brings up the levels, and we're going to set these to 11, 0.93, and we're going to reduce that down to 244 whites, and click on OK, and just darken up that top area there, and that looks pretty good. So position that wherever you want it. See, that matches really nicely with those bits there. You might want to drag your balloon into, let's just move down, into your green drops or something like that, so you keep all that kind of stuff together. I'm just going to quickly go and do exactly the same for my blue balloon and my pink balloon, and I'll pop back and take you through the settings for that. And here you can see I've got 3 balloons now. The green one that we created a second ago, the blue one, and the pink one. So just going to select the blue balloon and take you through some of the settings that we've changed for that. Again, just changing around the image adjustments, the color balance, brightness, hue and saturation. Set it for a darker blue to try and match the blue colors around the bottom, and again with the pinks, playing around with those different saturations. It's just trial and error. Just play around with those numbers till you get something that you're pretty happy with. I think I'll double check on the tutorial. I don't seem to have it in my notes, but I just want to scan through just to see. Right, okay, here we go. So I don't know why they're not in my notes, but for pink you just set the hue and saturation to hue -41, saturation -51, and hue and saturation set to 205 and saturation set to 29. Selective color. Okay, I think that's for the blue one. Yeah. So selective color, you want blue, cayenne set to 100, magenta set to 0, yellow set to 100, black set to 40, and then cayennes 47, 59, 18, 41, and so on. So do check out the tutorial. I'm sorry that they're not in my notes, but seem to be missing, but I don't want to waste too much time on that. So we're just going to quickly move on to the next bit. You might want to add a few little lines coming down from the balloon. So again, we can go back to, let me just close some of these layers now, getting a bit mad. Okay, so in the pink line area, I'm just going to create a new layer and grab the pen tool. Let's make sure we change the settings back to, let's say, 2 pixels, 100% hardness. That's all fine. And then we're going to start about here. And then right click on your mouse, stroke the path. Okay. And then we're going to copy the layer star from earlier. And we can just apply it straight to our new layer, like so. And again, we can transform it if it's just not quite right. There we go, looks pretty good. Looks like breaking away from down here. And you can see I've got that balloon layer underneath our little shape here that we created. Just going to move around, have a look at the rest of it. Okay, I lost a bit of my balloon there, but it's all looking pretty good. Okay, it's pretty cool making these lines, or these tentacles, and you can use them in lots and lots of different ways. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use this area over here. We're going to draw out a shape and kind of mess it around. So we're going to warp a vector, and we're going to add it as a background image behind our girl. So head over to custom shape and try and find any shape you want, really, any of these round shapes. I think this is one of the presets, and now I can't seem to see it, but so it's this one here, but I'm trying to see where it is in the drop down menu. There it is, right here. So grab that and hold down shift and draw out a nice shape. Now this is the one time that I'm going to change back to actually drawing out with our shape layer. So I'm just going to grab a yellow color, click on OK, hold down shift, and I'm just going to draw that out like so. Okay, I don't want to do this inside my pink lines, so Control Z that, come up to the top, create a new layer, and hold down shift, and just draw that out. Now, the settings that I've got on this shape, I think I've carried on from previous settings, so I'm just going to double check them. Your inner glow needs to be set to normal, 100, 0, and the color needs to be set to, yeah, it's done it from before, D46900. Softer edge, choke set to 0, size set to 18, bevel and emboss, increase that right up to 256, direction going up, size 49, soften 5, angle set to 164, not using global light, with an altitude of 53. And then the colors we've used down here, set to FFF262, set to screen 75, multiply 75, 824600, and no contour this time, and color overlay is set to a nice FAA412. Click on OK, and OK, you should get something that looks something similar to this. So now we have the fun part. I'm just going to hit pen tool, hit enter to get rid of the outline. I'm going to Control T to transform, right click, and we're going to warp this image, and you can warp it however you want. Like so. Hit enter. Ooh. Let's turn off auto select. And you're going to basically Command T, right click, warp, and just keep playing around with this vector shape until you get something you're fairly happy with. And if you are happy, we're going to move it down to the bottom down here, drag the layer all the way down beneath our girl, and we're going to create a cool little background area down here. So I'm going to duplicate that layer, just move it again, Command T, right click, warp, going to move that like so, and we're just creating a bit of decoration area behind her. So I'm going to duplicate that layer. This time I'm just going to flip it. Oh, Command T, flip it horizontally. Like so. And then just move that over. Grab the eraser tool, right click on the layer, rasterize it, increase the size with the square brackets on the keyboard, and we're just going to delete these areas on the bottom again, right click, rasterize. There we go, and as per usual mine always gets a little bit messier than the one on the actual tutorial, but I think that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to go through exactly the same process again. So I'm going to create a new layer, and this time we're going to create something that's going to wrap around this balloon and kind of swoosh around. So let's grab our custom shape tool, shift, there we go. Warp it. Okay, we're going to move this around the balloon here, and you can see it looks pretty good. I'm going to Command J, just duplicate that, move it to the side, come back to the one below it, rasterize that. And again, this is all your personal taste. I'm just going to get rid of some of the bits that I don't want. Like so. And again, what looks good to me often will not look good to you, but it always ends up, mine always ends up looking pretty messy, but okay, that looks pretty good. Just gonna auto select this layer here. Yeah, get that out of there. Okay. Then I'm going to come back to the pen tool and just grab new layer, and I'm going to have some strokes coming from top of the balloon over here, like so. And let's not forget to set that back to paths. So coming from this side of the balloon to about here. Okay, and a few more. And then just going to right click these and stroke them. Okay, not much has shown up there, it's a shame, don't know why that's happened. Let's go back to our brush tool, that's why. Let's set that to about 4 pixels, 100% hardness. Yep, that's pretty good. Let's try now, right click, stroke the paths. No, we're not getting those. No, I don't want to stroke that subpath, so I'm just going to go back a second. I'm not sure why that's not working. Let's just come back and start those again. Make sure you set your brush tool, 100% hardness. Yep, let's make sure we're on a nice small brush, about, let's say 7 pixels is probably too much. About 4 pixels. Normal, opacity 100, flow set to 100. Okay, now grab the pen tool and let's have this wrapping around like so. And then right click, stroke the path. There we go, that's much better. And we're going to create this coming around the top like so. And we can just quickly grab the layer style and paste that layer style over those tentacles. And again, we can add a few more. So these are coming round to here maybe. Right click, stroke the path, and they're going to take on the actual layer effects we've just added. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to add a few more just to join up the top of our balloon. There we go, a couple of little tentacles there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so the last little thing to do is to add the teddy bear at the top. I've got an alternative teddy bear here. So, just going to take some time, go around your teddy bear, cut them out. You can cut off the lower half because it's going to be hidden by the balloon. And I'm going to go ahead and add him into my image. So grab V, let's just drag him straight in, transform him, and let's scale him right down to 5%, not 50. That's pretty good. Let's move Teddy into position. Okay, gonna name that Teddy, and excuse me, and we're going to play around with positioning Teddy into place. So let's just zoom in so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, and we just want Teddy to be kind of climbing over the side a little bit. Okay, and if we duplicate him, Command J, move the duplicate to the side, and if we go to Image Adjustments, Black and White, we can make our shadow for him. So black and white, the top. Okay, and we're going to set that to custom, and we're going to have it set at -200, 84, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, it looks pretty good. Click on OK. Set it to soft light, like so. Transform it. We're going to flip it horizontally, and then we're going to flick him vertically, because this would be a shadow coming over here. And then we're going to knock Teddy right to the top where he should be. There's an earlier version. His shadow would look just something like that if he's just creeping over. Okay, grab the eraser tool, take out the bits we don't want. Okay, in fact, we need to duplicate Teddy once again. And then on this new Teddy, we're going to move him up as well. We're going to reduce his opacity. Actually, let's get rid of that Teddy. It's not worked. I think that looks alright. I think it's a little bit of a hard edge there where Teddy's coming over and his face is reflecting. Unfortunately, I don't have the original Teddy, but if you play around with that setting, it's not the be all and end all of the tutorial, but it's just trying to make him look real, as if he is hanging onto that balloon, like so. But I hope you've had fun creating all of these cool little tentacles here and our background image, and you might want to add a couple more lines here and there just to create. Let's just add these in because it's annoying me a little bit. So with the pen tool, you might want to have a line coming down like so. Remember, right click, stroke the path like so, and then just borrow one of the previous layer styles, copy it, and just paste it right on top of it. And you get a cool little effect like that, and then just move that up like so. So I hope you've enjoyed following along. It's a really great tutorial, so do check it out. It's not on Vector Tuts. I'm not sure why that's come up. It's on PSD Tuts. It's a great tutorial by, I think it's Wojciech. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name. And don't forget to check out all the other videos over at PSD Tuts, psd.tutsplus.com, and leave a comment, and hopefully we can get back to you. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much. I've been Gavin Steele.